All right, folks, Captain Paul here, week 65, and this week we're going to talk about, hey, honey, what have I done? I'm in this 29-foot Ranger. I've been at the helm of this boat quite a bit, actually, and we're getting some work done for it. And today, this is make a great example of what goes on after the purchase of the boat. Last week, we talked about survey or no survey. Thanks for all the great comments. That's incredible. You can see in the comments there, a lot of people buy these boats with no surveys. Some people know what they're doing, some people know what they're doing. I don't recommend buying a boat without a survey, but in certain circumstances you can, and there has been plenty of examples of that, and mine is number one. Next week we're going to talk about who can I trust in this business, because that's where it gets very, very technical. And next week we'll talk about that, and that's what next week's video is going to be dedicated to, is who do I trust? What do I need to know, and who do I trust after I purchase the boat? This week, again, we're going to talk about, hey, honey, what have I done? I like the topic of that video because, when I bought Loop Princess, and I'm just going back to the prefaces of, hey, what did I do, and how did I get here, and why am I here? Those are, all great topics, and especially when you're just buying the boat. And this 29 foot, this is a 2019 29 foot Ranger, and here I am sitting on that, and we're on mechanic number 2. That's really what I want to talk about this week, because I think we buy these boats, your survey's done, you've made the purchase, you're on the boat now, and you've got all these projects that need to be completed, and who completes them, and how do they get completed? The best way that I found of doing this, especially when I was like Loop Princess, was just getting a checklist, writing the projects that are important to you, and writing the immediate projects that need to be done on the boat. And number 1 should be no leaking. So when you check all your windows and stuff like that, number 1 project, you can't have any leaks in the boat. Every leak has to be found, and every leak has to be fixed. That should be your number 1 priority. Now, whether you pay somebody or whether you do that work yourself, that's to be, that's for you to make up that decision. And if you buy a boat with leaks and it has to be fixed, you have to put a price on that of what it's going to cost to fix that. And most boats, especially in a huge rainstorm, will have some type of a little leak somewhere. There's always need a little bit of caulking or a little bit of something. I don't see any leaks in this Ranger. I don't see any water on anything. So, I think you'd be pretty good like buying this boat, not worrying too much about leaks. But it's just something that is my number 1 priority. It's the number 1 priority I tell everybody when they're first purchasing a boat. First one, right out the gate. And then you guys know, number 2, toilets, air conditioners, refrigerators. These are all things that have to be addressed. If you're going to live out here in the Florida Keys on your boat, or you're going to do America's Great Loop, or whatever you're going to do, you've got to have air conditioning. It's very hot out here. And if you don't have working air conditioners, it's important to get the air conditioners working, and then you got to make the determination of whether to spend money on the existing air conditioners or just buy new. I can tell you right now, the marine air conditioners that I run, the suitcase versions, they're about $2,200, so I'm not going to put any more money than that into an old air conditioner. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Oh, she's a going. She's tight. She's a going.
Yeah, anyway, we got our new mechanic out here. We had to, and again, that's what this video is all about, is if you want to run one of these projects and to find the right people to work on these boats, it's not that easy. It's hard, and and getting the projects done is complicated, and it gets expensive. These mechanics now are anywhere. It's hard to find that good old boy mechanic anymore for $50 an hour. It's getting now to where I've seen prices as high as $200. And when we did the 36-foot Grand Banks last year, those guys were two guys over there at 30 Degree North, and the bills were brutal, man. It was like they were $200 an hour per man, and they had show-up pay, they had all this stuff, and the bills were to change a toilet, to change, it was quite a bit of work. They had to change all the hoses out in there. They had to redo put two new toilets in, so it included the price of the toilets, which he went with rattan toilets, which cost, those toilets were $3,000. And then put his dinghy davit system on the back of the boat, and the bill when he got it was $18,000. So that's a lot of money. I mean, like you guys know, I mean, yesterday was kind of it was a good day. We got a lot of work done on the boat here, but it was kind of a frustrating day because immediately I had to stop the video. I had to go get parts for Nick, and that whole process was, it just reminded me of what this video is all about, because a project that should have taken, let's say, 2 hours ends up taking 4 hours because I've got to go in this brutal traffic. I've got to go dig up a part, and then bring it back to the boat. And by the time I ran out of time, and finally I had to tell Nick, I had to give him a credit card and say, you got to go get this next part because I just don't have time. And you got to remember that when you're doing these projects. A lot of people buy these boats with these great expectations of, hey, I need the hull painted, I need this, I need that. All of these expectations, and then they'll get like the boat yard price of, let's say, what I could paint a boat for, because I'm a painter, and I can do it myself, and what it would cost me and what it would cost you are two completely different things. Now, if you can go out there, do your own paint work, you can do a lot of the work yourself, all the prep work, and you just get a guy out there to spray it, that's a price, but you have to manage it, and you have to manage it very, very closely. These projects can get out of control so fast, and the money just starts pouring out, and I can tell you story after story after story of these types of scenarios happening. And the guys that get out there and manage them and do them for themselves are very successful and keep the cost down. We're all going to make mistakes, every single one of us. If you just bought a boat and it's your first boat you've ever owned, you're going to make plenty of mistakes. And you really want to try and, make as few costly mistakes as you possibly can. And for me, the number one thing is my running gear, my transmissions. Do I want to go out on the water and have a bad experience? I mean, when you purchase the boat, when you make the conscious decision that you're going to purchase this boat, the first number one rule, besides the no leaks and all that stuff, that's for the outer superstructure of the boat, is when you get to your engine room, is that cooling system has to be gone through. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not done, and you bought a boat that has a completely gone through cooling system. That's great. But if you haven't, and you don't have the records, and you don't know anything about that cooling system, you need to go through it completely from top to bottom, because it's the number one thing that can destroy your engines, especially you first time. I can't emphasize this enough. I hear so many times, they get out there on the loop, they get out there on that, and they forgot to go in the engine room and just do all of the checks, clean all of the aftercoolers, clean all of the cooling system out, make sure everything's right. The first thing you do is when you get out there and you have an overheating engine, that's no good. That's no bueno, no good, because that can be very, very costly. That can cost you an engine. And when you got to start buying engines, now you're looking at prices, $10, $20, $30,000 for an engine. Even, like a new BT6 Cummins is about, the one that went into the boat that I had, the total bill on it was like $60K. That wasn't the complete price of the boat. And then we just got new Yanmars for our boat. I believe they were about $25,000 a piece, so $50,000 for two new motors. And prices add up quickly. And then if you had to take the labor to put those new engines in, all over stupid cooling system, don't do it, man. Just go down there. If you bought the boat, go down in your engine room, and or pay a mechanic to go down in your engine room. And that's pretty much what this video about. Whether you pay or you can do it yourself. And a lot of these DIY projects, the more you can do yourself, the more you can save. And you really get to know the inner and outer guts of the boat, and that's what's so cool. Even like this boat right here, this Ranger Tug, perfect example. I never knew where the bilge pumps were at. I didn't know where this was at. But yesterday the mechanic had me crawling around there. I was helping him, handing him lines and stuff like that. I got to really look down there and I know where this bilge pump is now. I know where that bilge pump is now. I got to see the bilge pumps. He actually put the a flashlight down there and said, "This is what I'm dealing with." And then just looking at that location of where that stuff was, I'm going, "Oh my God, how do you even work on that?" But and you got to do it. You got to get in there. You got to get your hands dirty. Sorry, You may not want to hear that in the video, but you got to get your hands dirty. And if you don't want to get your hands dirty, I would not recommend buying a 40-year-old trawler, because you're going to get your hands dirty. And if you're not willing to do that, and finding one that is what we say completely just turnkey, very, very rare. Very, very rare. And then finding one at a fair price, oh man, that's just almost impossible, I would say. And it's just, I could just sit here and share example after example. I want to hear you guys' comments on this, because all you guys that have done all of these surveys and looked at all of these boats, you need to help these other people by leaving your comments down there. I mean, there is so much. I don't even want to call it neglect, because it could be, ignorance of the previous owner. He didn't know any better. When and especially these guys, a lot of these guys will buy these boats, just with no idea of what it takes to maintain or keep up one of these boats. Then they use it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever they do, America's Great Loop. And when they get done with it, it needs so much maintenance to make that. And I'm going to use the Great Loop as an example. It's a 5,000 mile run, 5,500 miles. And you're going to use a lot of the engine up when you're making that run, and it needs to be serviced, and the coolers need to be serviced. It takes a lot, especially in a saltwater environment, to keep these engines and keep all of the systems on the boats going. So especially the video for that first time boater, second time you're buying the big boat, you're getting ready to retire, you're getting ready to do America's Great Loop. You really got to understand what you're buying, and then do your homework, have all your ducks in a row, but don't rely on anybody for anything. You've got to take on the project. You've got to take the boat on. You've purchased the boat, and you're the one that has to, be a project manager and manage it well. Have notes, take notes, get lists, and then just start knocking the projects out one at a time. And don't overwhelm yourself with too many projects. I mean, your list should be whatever your list is, but don't overwhelm yourself. Focus on this project, get this one done, then get this one done, and pretty soon the boat's done, and you're like, ooh, that's freaking awesome. And just look at it like that. Just break it down and break your list down, and then start working on it and get the projects done, and you'll be surprised how fast it goes and what happens. Now, I can tell you from example. This is from example only, and this is from doing Loop Princess. I worked on that boat every single day for 3 months straight in the boatyard, but that was also because I had to do the bottom, and that bottom took a month, and then I ended up spraying the top side and stuff like that. So I ended up doing a lot more work than I did. But I worked on that boat every single day, 8 to 10 hours a day, for 90 straight days. So if you guys are weekend warriors, like you're getting your boat, you're still working a full-time job. I wasn't working a full-time job. I was working strictly for myself on Loop Princess. And so and the whole purpose of this is to tell you that, if you think you're gonna, if you're about 2 years out and you're still working full-time, and you're about 2 years out from doing America's Great Loop, and all you have is your weekends dedicated to this, it's all time, and you need to put away that time. Somebody's got to do the time. It's either you're going to pay somebody to do the time, or you're going to do the time yourself, and you've got to determine who's going to do that time, and then get that boat ready for the type of cruising that you want to do. And you need to manage it well, and if you do that, you will be successful. But I do want to share one last thing here before I end this video. When I first bought Loop Princess, one of the brokers, I was actually with Curtis Stokes, and Robbins Flynn's was the broker on the deal, and he gave me some advice. He goes, Paul, I'm going to give you some good advice. You're not going to want to hear it, and you're probably not going to stick to it. But he said, don't do anything to this boat. Just get in, get it mechanically sound, and then just go do your America's Great Loop, and then bring it back and sell it, or live on it, or do whatever you're going to do with it. And I did not take that advice, and I believe now, looking back at the whole experience, that I should have heeded those words of wisdom. because I put way too much time, way too much money, way too much energy. And you know, when I went to sell Loop Princess, I sold it at a huge loss, and that's just cash that has nothing to do with labor that I put into the boat. So knowing what I know now, I can't say what I would have done. Knowing what I know now about Loop Princess, I would not have purchased her, and that was because of her what was wrong with the osmosis in the hull. I just wouldn't have, because it had water in the hull, and I wouldn't have wanted to tackle that project the way I did. And I would have bought the boat. I would have tried to buy the boat much cheaper, and then just left the osmosis and rolled the bottom paint on and been done and gone and done my loop, and still done all the other projects that I did, because that was the big one that cost me all the money. But we live and we learn, and that's what life's all about, living and learning. Anyway, guys, I got to end this video today. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. I went to Costa Rica last week. Had a good time. I still church every Sundays. Working out at the gym. Hope it shows. And the guns, are they getting any bigger? Come on, man. I want to hear the comment. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Anything I can do to help, if you just want to talk to somebody, be that guy on your shoulder there, please feel free to reach out to me. I have an open book. Anyway, thank you, guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Bye. Peace out.